Oh, yeah, I know what I mean. Keep this.
Well, you can do that before.
Well, you know, I don't give up one day. I get on, but but out of that day, I had to give up. I would give up. I get rest.
Yeah.
I guess we about 7. Well, they wait about 7:35. And he had 2:40, I think.
For what wage?
7:35. They're over $1,600 hit, but yeah. One more time, you know, they play, and I was 15 of them. They started, everybody.
It's all right, you made paper.
Everybody started laughing, they knew. That was nuts. But, I'm gonna seal the,
And she goes, what?
no way, 8.5.
Because like, he didn't get off till 2:15. I came in at 3:05. 15.
Half an hour.
15.
Just calling there, then did you?
Yes.
Did you still?
Only on Saturdays, you know.
That was still.
He's always there buying, trading and something, but he's not. He won't sell it to you.
I was gonna bring you those screw shovels, David. I couldn't find them.
Justin got one.
I wasn't even gonna bring it up, man.
Didn't need that. All we needed was a little gravel.
Yeah, that,
Good stuff.
Not really stuck.
I said it.
No, not tight center. Stuck on ice.
No, the barber.
No. Too big.
oh, I guess that was what's standing.
No,
I
that's
haven't
right.
had that to do this.
Boy, I haven't been stuck for
Well,
27
when
years,
there's
I
ice,
think.
when there's ice through that snow, like there was, great job.
All right, I got 7:00. Ashley, you roll call?
All right, Director Lee,
Here.
Director Britt,
Here.
Director Worrell,
Here.
Director Ferris,
Here.
Director Johnson,
Here.
Okay. Approval of agenda.
Make it just good. Any changes to it?
I think we are fine for the agenda.
You guys good with it? Yep. We're just looking for motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Open forum. Looks like we got a full house. It's time to get something to want to say.
To start with, I know Michaela Worrell had to, resign. I I would like to know if there's anything we can do to get her reinstated, because we are concerned about our child's safety at the school at this point. And I know he feels comfortable with her. And I'm going to we're gonna redo his IEP, so he has a one-on-one instead of a shared IEP. And I would like her to be the one-on-one.
That would probably be something more appropriate for your IEP meeting. To talk with them about that at that time.
Even our son's safety at school.
Well, I mean, you can talk about whatever you want to, but for the IEP, that's probably the time is to talk about those things. Usually, that's more of a private nature.
Okay.
If you're asking the board about that, I mean, this is the time for them to listen and get input from you, the public. But they can't really, usually they don't really respond at that because of the nature of, they're outside of the IEP, they're outside of that.
Okay, so what about, so there's nothing that we could do to get her reinstated?
I honestly, I wouldn't know the answer.
All
That
right,
is-
okay, so what about, as far as our little boy's safety at school? Is that anything that we can bring up here or that you guys would have anything to do with?
But yeah, I mean,
Because
As far as
we,
safety, what do you feel is it's not?
well, there's another child in the classroom that has, just Monday had an incident on the playground and his glasses were broke. He's got a scratch under his eye. I got pictures if you'd like to see them. And this isn't the first incident that's happened with him. So we requested that this kid be removed and put in the other preschool class. So, none of this would happen again. And this isn't the first time I've asked that these two be separated. And obviously it's not. I mean, nobody's doing anything about it. So that's why we're worried about his safety.
The moving of children is a really delicate balance that we have. We normally do not move children. And it certainly, we don't move children from class to class without our attorney's advice, because there's a lot of things that go into that. And we'll go back. There's only so much I can say in the public or to you about the child that's being requested, but they have their rights we have to follow as well.
Okay, so can I request my child being moved since nothing's getting done about the other one?
I mean, yes, you could request that too.
So you're saying you were requesting for the other child to be moved?
Yes, because it's not our child that's making being the big problem.
he feeds off the animal.
And I am not saying that our child is an angel by any means, but, we've never been contacted that he's like busted glasses, made marks on any other kids, anything like that, so. And as of the 4th of, January, he punched our kid in the face. I don't know, it's just an ongoing thing that obviously the school can't get a hold of and separate them.
And
So I guess we've made our request to Jill. Jill's made a request to you. Now we're at the school board. We don't know where to go from there.
one thing to remember, and I've said it many times, is normally we're a 2-section school, And even when we're at 3-section grade, they're at recess at the same time. So, I mean, these are all things that kids have to learn to get along. And that's a lot harder at the preschool level, when there's a lot of play and a lot of physical play.
So just let it ride out and let it keep happening? Is that what we're saying here?
No, I'm sure Mrs. Kerr has been working on this with the teachers and that they've been trying to do everything.
Whatever they're trying is not working. Because it's been quite a while since I've asked for them to separate the two, and obviously it's not working.
Have you asked for your son to be removed? Or
No,
separated?
we asked for the other child to be removed because our child isn't the main problem here.
But when you say removed, you mean separated from class? I mean, obviously they're.
Yeah, from class, because they feed off each other.
Right.
And at this point, our kid sees the other one hitting and everything, so that's what he's doing. So because he sees it and he's getting hit and everything, that he basically thinks it's normal. It's what he should do. And we're trying everything we can do to get it stopped.
So if requesting to have their child move to a different class, is that easier, obviously easier than telling them?
That's a request we can take into consideration.
Preschool is unique because there are class limitations, but so it would likely require the moving of another student also, because that other class is at 20 kids, so we cannot have 21 kids in a classroom. So it would still be a domino effect. I'm not saying it's not possible, but moving even one child affects others.
Right.
I guess that's kind of how I said, we take it into consideration, we can take it into the IEP meeting.
Which is scheduled
all
for
those
tomorrow.
things.
Other than that, I mean, obviously I feel that the administration's gonna do the best they can to, separate them. Obviously they can't, because you want their kid removed. Yeah, I don't, know if they can do that. But hopefully that they can figure something out by putting in some way. I mean, no, we don't want your kid getting hurt.
That's the key is the safety.
Yeah, I mean,
One would think.
I don't.
You said that meeting's coming up.
We have.
Tomorrow at 2, yeah.
About all I can say is that I don't know what else to say. I think it will get resolved. I mean, they'll do their best.
It's the hard part on the outside, knowing all the limitations that are on the inside, the class size and those kind of
Yeah.
things, and moving kind of problematic in preschool. Any other grade, you can have 22 and 20, preschool 20, and that's it.
Good. Anything else? All right,
Thank you.
Anybody else got something?
I'm here about Lunchtime Solutions.
Okay.
Anybody who wants to ask questions, I've had a very informative phone call this week. And I have, she printed me out papers. I printed papers out that she emailed me if anybody's interested in the real Lunchtime Solutions issues. They are an out-of-state company, and all of our Iowa government commodity dollars will go out of state They will not stay in Iowa. They pay way less, and they do not have to hire my girls. They pay way less than I'm paying, about half. So I can't see that any of them would be able to afford to stay, even if they would hire them. The food is nowhere near our quality of food, and I don't want my kids to be subjected to it. Everybody I've talked to said it's not good food. I don't want to be in here, and I made copies of the information if anybody wants. And she said she would talk to anybody that wanted information about, because she doesn't want to see it happen either.
Who's she?
Meg Blake.
Yeah. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, so she's with you.
Yes. Yeah, and she's outlined a bunch of issues on here. Did you want one? Sure. I've got more. Want one, Justin?
I'm sure with these guys. What's Tony wants one?
ADA purchasing is who we go into contract with for different items, but they, we usually do them, and they have Martin Brothers. So we may say Martin Brothers, and that's the company that won the bid through the state. All the ADAs in the state have purchasing co-op.
For supplies for the school.
And Rapids Wholesale is involved with ADA as well. And Lunchtime Solutions will not contract with our milk company or our food vendor. They go out of state to purchase everything. They would not benefit any Iowa business. Where Martin Brothers buys from, Martin Brothers is an Iowa-based business. They purchase as much as they can from Iowa and farmers. The other wouldn't. AEA is a nonprofit. Obviously, Lunchtime is all profit. And like I said, she said she would talk to anybody that has questions. I have 2 girls that are willing to step up and take over next year.
Yep.
And I'm already training one of them. Right, Beth?
We haven't, I mean, nothing's set in stone that we're going much.
Right, but I wanted you
And I-
guys to be informed.
And I, correct. And I guess I can't speak for the whole board, but to keep it in-house is gonna be our number one, I feel like our number one priority. But I don't speak for everybody, I'm sure, but.
I don't know if anybody knows, like, if Lunchtime Solutions was to come into the school, like, do you have any idea like what that would look like for us at all? Like, chances of us being able to, stay here?
Right. We're at the time frame in our webinar, we learned we're at the time frame where we cannot talk to the vendors. Now, I've talked to different vendors in the past because for many years, because they're at all the conventions and you kind of hear and learn about all that. Each company that I've talked to has said that they are naturally going to hire the staff that's within the system, as many as want to come to them, obviously. That applies. We are, the one thing we were told, where were you told that from? Kenna? About the summer, during the summer?
Oh, yeah, they, unemployment through the summer. And then like, this is just, here's data from schools that have had it, you know, so there are things that they would offer that we can't offer.
Right.
But I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just,
Right.
Saying, yes.
there are
Fact.
some pros, you know, and like you said, most companies that we've talked to have all hired on the staff, but I don't.
And I talked to schools where I know the administrators at different companies, not just one company or another. And all of them said that they hired either everyone that they had before or everyone that applied.
Right.
There might have been some retire or whatever. I don't know the specifics of each case, but it's just, that's where we are finding out what we could. We're just in the process of filling out the application. When the application goes in, the state Department of Nutrition lady, I can't remember her title, but she manages it and she looks at the bids and goes through that, and then the board has a chance to look at it, also look at staying within house and have all those options, and then a decision can be made.
And we could lose our IPers and insurance if they can,
Exactly,
Yeah, IPers,
and insurance.
because you would no longer be an employee of Westwood Community, you would be an employee of theirs.
right, unless that company offered insurance, which I can't say which company and what their benefits are, because I don't know.
Yeah, they will.
If it does go that route where the school does go Lunchtime Solutions,
Mhm.
and then we are no longer employed by the school, I understand that we can apply through them and still be able to keep our jobs. But what would that look like for us? With our positions being, it's no longer available as a position for the school, is that something we're gonna know, like, do you have any idea of like when we'll know, or like, because we're all just kind of nervous, we're not gonna have a job next year.
That's
right?
Well, and that's, yeah.
That's not gonna be, I mean, we're gonna be, like I say, it's gonna be very transparent. We're not just gonna pull the rug out on you and you don't have a job. Obviously, I think there'll be a meeting
Right.
and everybody will hear what the plan is and what your position will look like or what your options will be, and go from there. But yeah, nobody's gonna just get thrown to the wolves. I mean,
And
it's not.
as I told Ms. Shute during our meeting, that once we got everybody back from vacation and get all the information together, that we would meet with everybody that would be returning next year, so they could understand what we know at this time, because it's an ongoing process. And I would have the date for you then. I hate to say off the top of my head, of which by then you have to have a decision made, or have a decision made, but I would say it'd be in our March board meeting, but maybe it's April, but I don't want to say one or the other, but it's somewhere in there.
You just mentioned there's a window where you weren't able to talk about it. I guess, what's the window where you can? Maybe that would help kind of give an idea of when we might hear about it.
Can't talk to the companies that are.
Oh, when you can't talk to the companies? You can talk to them, there'll be a walkthrough. I mean, if our paperwork gets approved by the state, then there is a walkthrough day, so.
I think what he's saying is, right now, we're not allowed to negotiate with them.
Right.
Until when?
And, well, we put out the RFP for contracts.
Well, why would you want them to come in here instead of keeping us that way.
I don't, it's nothing personal, and if I
Yes,
had,
it is.
if I had my choice, it would stay in-house. Again, I'm one member. It's the staffing, the call-ins, trying to find somebody who's gonna take over her job and actually,
I've got 2 people ready to step up.
I understand, and actually take over your job. Stay here, stay with us, you know, keep up on everything. I think it was just kinda, with her retiring and not really knowing what was gonna happen, we had to look into something to cover our butts. So this is us looking into it. It's, again, I'm only one person, but I don't think that I would necessarily be living in fear if I were you.
I'll piggyback to that as well. It's not that we're looking to go get rid of that at all. It has nothing to do with it. We'd a lot rather have our own people here, no doubt about it. To manage that part is getting tough. And if you can pull that out, you are all for it. So that's all it's about. It's just trying to keep everybody fed.
That's like I'm already training Beth on how to do all of the menu. And I'm just waiting for somebody to stay in gold. She can stay and have that position, and she can assist her in the job to teach her the paperwork and all of the nuts and bolts of the operation.
Absolutely. Well, it's just hard to find anybody in any field right now, and that's why we're just looking absolutely at nothing. Please don't take it personal. It's just trying to keep that part of the school functional.
And there's notations in the papers I handed you of there are government commodities. I'm allotted $36,400.79 from government commodities that I am able to spend on food through Martin Brothers. That money would disappear for you because Lunchtime Solutions would take it to another state.
And I would say it's done a phenomenal job of managing the money for the nutrition. So it's not on the list.
Thank you. I'd like to have my kids with it. Are we over discussing that? Because I was wondering about discussing replacing the walk-ins. I think we discussed that at our.
Walk-in coolers?
I know Justin's had a hard time with them.
I think it had been discussed.
We discussed it at a prior board meeting, but we haven't received any bids or put out for bids yet. We did, also, and we were gonna talk about this, is this year we did our emergency management insurance. So like when a Chromebook died, we send it in, it gets fixed, and the insurance pays for that. This year, we did the same thing on the coolers, the HVAC and all that. So part of that is weighing the cost of replacement to them to fixing them up using those funds.
Mr. Lovett, does that cover the cost of the food loss if the cooler goes down and it's not caught right away?
Right.
It does.
That, does that? I believe so. Remember when that happened last time? Wow, turning in that.
What was it?
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, I kind of remember that, but that's been.
That's one of the questions I asked Jake, when he was here presenting insurance. Cause I asked Jake,
Yeah.
good, if it did cover spoilage, and he said that it did. So.
And I think that's why Bob put the sensors on it years ago, so we could prevent that, any issues. So,
All right, thank you, Shorty.
I have one more thing.
All right.
If my budget allows, and it is my budget, or I don't know if it comes out of Justin's pocket, revamping this wall between the commons and our kitchen to make it like that elementary, so that there's the roll-up doors, so the kids don't come in the kitchen. It'd be more sanitary. It gives us a lot more room. Bob Brea had, him and Kathy Dix had discussed doing it years ago. And I thought it was a good idea then. I still think it's a good idea to keep the kids out of the kitchen for sanitary purpose.
Maybe that goes into,
That was,
Tom's idea.
that was our discussion when we met with CMBA.
We're looking to do some major changes, and that would definitely be incorporated into it, so. Absolutely.
You should stick around and see them through.
I can come back for visits. For visits. And I told these guys, if they get in charge, I'm at a phone call away. I mean, I'm not moving to the Caribbean. I'm gonna be here.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for
Thanks.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for
Thanks for
stepping up.
coming in.
Certainly want to hear.
Anybody else?
Megan, you
Guys
wanna
can-
say any? Yeah.
Okay, more welcome today, but.
Yeah, thanks.
That's
Thank you.
totally good.
Thank you for listening.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Just a heads up to the board, the WEA does plan on negotiating this year. We'll get our letter of intent, to negotiate it, just so you guys have a heads up.
The deadline for the letters over.
Is it?
Sorry.
Well, you know, you could just give us we'll go 5%.
We'll just rubber stamp that with bypass.
I can't wait for negotiations. So just a heads up, so you guys kind of got it on your radar.
I think you still owe us drinks from last
I
time.
was just gonna say.
Oh, that's Scott T.
You didn't hold up your end of the deal last time. Okay. Old business. Consent agenda.
Yes, all the links are there and went through everything very similar to the month before. Everything looks good. The balances are where we want. Again, we kind of are looking at this one item on the budget where there are the 5 areas in case we need to redo the budget. And we'll look at that a little more as we have the budget process started going. In February, we'll have our budget workshop online with Forecast 5 and try to figure all that out at that time. That's coming up as well. A lot of fun stuff coming up. And then the renewal of the 900 series second reading. No changes. Any specific questions on any of the docs? I can open them.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. New business.
Who was the second? Sorry.
Dan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Transportation.
I guess first thing would be a little recognition to all the drivers because the roads, we lost them. They were bad and we had to do alternative routes for a few days, but we didn't have any major issues. Nobody got in a ditch, nobody got stuck, no major problems. You weren't stuck. So, the mud was bad. Probably the worst was probably Pam's route out there. It was pretty hairy.
Where's that at?
That would be south of Hornick, up in the hills.
Oh, geez.
That was pretty hairy. But
Wait till the spring.
yeah. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope it thaws out and rains off instead of just sits there. So, but we got through it all good. Had a few minor bus issues. Had one roof was leaking, I think maybe a tree. Roof was peeled up, so bus that runs around here in town. Found it, got it sealed up, haven't heard anything else. I've got one down in Sergeant Bluff that I'm gonna go work on tonight, needs a new motor on the door. We won't have electric doors anymore. The new ones will be here, a lot less problems with them. New buses, all 4 of them are scheduled to come off the line in Georgia, March and April. So with any luck, we'll see them by July. So they might change that. They've been bouncing them around. I think the lift bus that we ordered has changed 5 times as far as what day it's coming out of there. That was the latest as of about a week and a half ago. So. And just got the state inspection information, so April 27th will be our next biannual inspection. Not a great time because things are pretty busy around there, but hopefully we'll be able to have all the vehicles available. So that's about all I got. Big cold snap next week, so keep your fingers crossed that goes well.
Short and sweet, I hope on that one.
Hope so.
Funny. Good?
Yep,
Any questions? All right, thanks, Tom.
you bet.
Justin?
Fire pumps in, working on a little bit of electrical and control issues that we had to move it a little bit further than what we had planned, so we're gonna do some rewiring, but should be up and running by the end of next week is what we're hoping. Got an email yesterday afternoon, all the material has arrived for the antenna. So, talked with Jay, we're okay with them working in the building. They're gonna come down first part of next week, hoping, and do a walkthrough and get a feeling for with the guys, what's going on. So, Hall of Fame, milk truck backed into it. So, then getting some prices. It's gonna be a spendy little deal for them, but Jay and I talked. Gonna give them a chance to come out and actually, the insurance company see it for firsthand. So it is gonna be pretty spendy, so.
Their insurance or our insurance?
Their insurance, yeah.
That'll be the whole, all 6 doors or whatever that is, right?
Yeah, all of them have to be replaced,
So
so.
one gotta like.
North side of the building.
The door alone is probably close to 40.
40 by 50 building.
He just backed into it or slid into it?
No, he didn't slide nothing.
There it is,
Barry
Smith.
Yeah, he did.
So have them start delivering milk down at the bus bar. Move it up here.
Boiler project,
Did you watch the video? He almost backed into the wrestling room. Backed up.
this morning,
No, that time.
yeah, this morning he about did the same thing in wrestling. No.
He's working on the addition for it.
So, boiler project pretty much completed. Pump 7, they aligned it. The noise didn't go away, so we made them pull it out. They took it to Malloy. We have not seen the motor back yet. So, we're just, till then, holding the final payment till they complete their warranty part. So, we were going through couplings on the Lovejoy couplings on the pumps. And part of the boiler project, they had to have their pumps aligned. So when the alignment guys were here, talked to them, they said, showed me a couple things. Every one of our pumps needed aligned. So over Christmas break, we had them aligned it. Knock on wood, we have not dropped a coupling since Christmas. We were dropping anywhere from 1 to 2 a week. So, we did get all the pumps aligned, so you'll see that bill next month, but just so you're aware.
How's the snow equipment?
Huh?
How's the snow equipment?
I don't know, I wasn't here.
Yeah, you chickened out.
Actually, I was in Vegas,
Oh, that's right.
but no, we're sitting pretty good.
Everything's running good?
Yeah, everything's running good. So, I will see what it's like this weekend, got another one coming in, so.
So with that, just when Justin's gone, what's our next in line for somebody pushing snow?
Cartwright's done it from when Bob was here, we just continued that on. So this time, Calvin did the parking lot. Calvin and Dad did it together. Bob, did the sidewalks. So, just because it was so much that,
So when is Calvin in a cut right vehicle or
Yes.
in a school?
he was in the school vehicle this time because there was so much.
Okay, so
He's,
liability, that's where I'm going with this. I mean, if
well, I could say when Bob was here, cut right, we used all the school equipment.
okay.
So I don't know liability wise,
Unless there was too much.
unless there was too much, we always used it. But at that time, you know, I don't know liability, but I mean,
I just don't.
the truck was here, so the only place he was in the parking lot.
Right, but if he hit something or,
Yeah.
I know in St. Luke's, they can have them fill out a form, and then they're under their insurance at that point, so there's paperwork you can do, you just need to.
we have our own insurance.
Somebody was going wrong or whatever.
Yeah. St. Smith, we operate by the rules. Somebody should know.
So-
See what's going on.
Well, they ride along all the time.
If I have a parent drive a van, same thing, I gotta send their driver's license into the insurance company, they add them to the roster.
I
of
just-
drivers, So,
I don't really care who scoops snow as long as it gets done. I just don't want.
come back.
You know, like that Jeep sat out there for how long? You know, if he slides into that Jeep, well, they can come back on the school, well, he's driving a school vehicle. I want everybody protected, I guess. is what I'm saying.
So I was him, I did the back door.
Anything else?
Good.
All right, sorry, I've got kind of a lengthy one tonight. Start with the fun stuff. 100th Day School is coming up next Wednesday, February 1st. We are very excited for that. We'll have lots of 100-year-olds running around here. I had 103 students in grades 4 through 6 earn their AR reward for the month of December, so they got to pie a teacher, a staff member. They had a lot of fun. Some poor, unsuspecting teachers got. Justin would not step
I
up
was
to it.
busy.
He was in the gym, but he magically became busy.
Just don't.
I've had a few issues with kiddos with phones as young as 4th grade and posting videos they've taken on school buses of other students to social media. I am learning a great deal because our kids have phones much younger than I anticipate, with a lot more free reign than I anticipate. I have our deputy Zane, who does our STARS, which is a former DARE, coming in Friday to talk with all 4th graders. He's already spoke with the 5th graders because that is now part of the STARS program, and the 6th graders last year would have had that. I'm also talking with some other schools about what they do. It's a very delicate thing because it is only a handful of kiddos that have access to these devices, yet the reach is far. There were a lot of things in that instant that were not following school handbook policy, and that didn't even allow me to maybe address the behavior, but it was more of the handbook policy of we cannot record on school property, on school vehicles, and then we can't take that next step and post it to social media. There's a lot of layers with student privacy. All of our students have to sign things saying they can be photographed or videoed. Students don't know who those kiddos are. There's the safety of it being far-reaching on the internet. So I'm learning a lot as I go with that one, and I think in the world we live in, it's only gonna continue to get younger, so I'm gonna myself have to do a better job at educating students. I'm also working on a parent component to try and educate parents about what this looks like as well, because it's hard to navigate, it's constantly changing, and kids are smarter than we are, so.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
But like Friday night, when we won conference, and they take a picture of all the kids in the gym, so
That's a open public forum. A game is open to the public.
So then if the team would take a picture in the locker room with coaches present.
That's state law.
They would all be suspended for 3 days. In a nutshell. Right, so my question was, when this came about, one, I asked the parent, I'm like, why on earth does a 4th grader have access to YouTube? That was my first question. So my next question was, my wife comes and eats with my kids, and she always takes a Snapchat of her eating with Vivian and her friends, and she puts it on her Facebook, or on her Snapchat story. So my wife's in violation.
Technically, and that's the part of me educating parents better
Right,
on, so it was just her and your daughter.
Right.
But, and that's where who we have those releases for, yeah, technically, yes.
And then you have the closed part of Snapchat where you can just send it to these people. And you have the geo part of it where you can make it so everybody that looks at this area can see it. And then the wide open, and yeah, how do you manage all that?
I don't envy you in that aspect.
Like, it's a learn, because fourth graders, we have third graders with phones, we have second graders with phones, and it's, their knowledge of safety isn't quite there. And so to teach them, it's gonna be tricky, it is, but it's something that needs done because it's not going anywhere, it's only gonna become more prevalent, and the earlier these kids have devices, the earlier they need to know those lines, because then it comes down to locker room, state law. That's not us being bad guys, that's state law. Bathroom is state law.
So is there something we can do to maybe educate some of these parents?
That's
To
the
know
next
that
part,
they
we're
can limit
right.
these phones to where you can only call mom and dad with this phone and you can't get on the internet, you can't look at social media.
So
Because
with,
there are parameters with every phone.
Absolutely.
so the parameter, so in this instance, he had from what I understand, an iPad, he filmed it on the bus, didn't publish it to YouTube till a couple of days later when he was at home on Wi-Fi. So, in a sense, you have
Because
to
the camera's
disable.
always gonna work.
Right, you're gonna have to disable the camera. I mean, I think education's huge, put it on JMC and on our Twitter and.
Right, and that Mr. Lett's working on a letter, I know. I found a program that seems a little stringent to me, so I'm kind of hesitating. It's wait until 8 that really encourages parents to kind of band together, wait till your kids are older, and then it gives tools for parents like, here's Snapchat, and then when it changes, they publish an update how to change it, and helps parents kind of band together on that. The thing is, once a kiddo has a phone, it's really hard, if not impossible, to go back. So it's educating upfront the kids, and the younger they are, it's more the parents. And it's just gonna be a slippery slope.
Well, and some of that too is both parents working, the
Absolutely.
kids at home alone for half
Absolutely.
an hour to an hour by themselves.
Yeah, they're-
That's their lifeline.
Right, they don't have a house phone, and
Correct.
that's the world we live in, and so a big part of me is we gotta teach them how to use it responsibly because they're not going anywhere. So that, like I said, the eye opener for me was the age of our kids, like, yeah, we have it built in education in 5th grade, but that's not soon enough today. We gotta go back. So I'm confident in Deputy Zane and his talk, and then from there I'll decide if we're gonna do that with 3rd grade or what it will look like going forward. I know Mr. Drees from the secondary side, they go through all of that before school starts, so I might start doing a handbook talk with that too. It seems kind of out there to have those talks for a handful of kids, but then they've heard it, they know it, because in this case, they didn't know it. And so, but it's there, it's present, that is the stance, and it's for that kiddo safety just as much as the other kids who are in those videos published to the world on the internet without knowing.
I'm sure 7 years old.
Is that kids are smarter than we are, like they can do more than we most possible.
I know, I just got one.
And I think, a 13, what do you call them?
iPhone.
Or
iPhone.
iPhone 13.
My last
They're
little
connected to
like.
the world.
Nice Christmas present from you, Dan.
Yeah, it was, but I don't know, this, when they went to the moon, they didn't have as much technology to go to the moon as this has right here. You know that?
Yeah.
Computer, huh? Yes. But yeah, they went, time they didn't go. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, you got a handful there.
Yeah.
Man.
So my last little spiel for you guys is kind of lengthy again, I'm sorry. So, we're doing our fast testing. We do that screening 3 times a year. So this year we've implemented intervention time for all kids in the area of reading and math based on their screening. They are getting prescripted interventions for the skill they need. Screening is not done, but I've seen a lot of growth and it is very exciting what we've been able to do. Along that line, it means schedules and kids and teachers and special ed kids with IEPs. I am asking you guys to consider removing from the handbook the section that lets parents request teachers. I have full faith in all of my teachers, and we get a system in place with class rosters then that are based on parents wanting a certain teacher or kids together, and it's not based on their educational needs. So I would like you to consider that for the future, removing it so we can build class lists based on kids' educational needs, where they're at, and the wonderful staff that we have, and that I have full faith and trust in all of them getting our kids what they need.
Jim, where are you at on that?
Well, it's been a struggle for the 8 years that I did it. And it's a real struggle, and it's gotten harder.
For teachers, you mean for parents to request a certain teacher?
Yeah,
And you want to take that out, they can do that?
we have a provision in our handbook that gives a window of opportunity for parents to pick next year's teacher, basically. And it was in before you even came into the elementary.
Yeah.
So it's been here for a long time, tradition. We talked about it. That's kind of hard. We do have language in there that says the school will accommodate as much as we can, but we can't promise. And normally we make good on our getting everybody happy where they are. But a lot of things are different, and that's something we're gonna continue to look at and talk to you about, trying to figure out how we can make this work.
Well, I personally agree. I think we can trust our staff to educate the community, and there isn't anybody better to decide how the classes should be laid out. So, just feel like people feel entitled sometimes.
Who lays that out? You?
So in the past, I don't know how it's been done. I think parent requests were taken first, and
But
then
how would you see it done, I guess, comments?
I would personally like to see done, every Monday afternoon, I spend from 12 o'clock to 3:30 with my 2 interventionists, the special ed teachers coming for the grade levels, and we meet 30 minutes with each grade level team of teachers. I anticipate taking 1 or 2 of those Monday afternoons to look through those. We might, for first grade, we might also consult kindergarten teachers and be like, okay, who did not work well together in kindergarten that we have separated this year that we shouldn't put back together? Or we also are pushing in all of our kiddos with IEPs now. We used to be pull-out, so we have a lot of kids that need support within the classroom, which requires extra people. So based on their educational needs, their social, emotional, all of those things, but as a team based on their current teachers, past teachers, and future teachers.
So probably the only one thing that I'll throw out just as a cautionary note is that we do this, it means we have to treat everybody the same.
Absolutely.
That means when the teachers come and ask for a favor about where their kids get placed, or a school board member, they have to be treated the same,
Not me.
right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's gonna fall on you to have those
Absolutely.
conversations, so.
Yeah, and I think because it will be a very transparent, open, I'm not sitting behind closed doors making those lists. It will be a true team looking at that list together. There won't be opportunity for that.
No, and
that is a very valid point that everyone will need to recognize.
What about like a brother and sister or something like that? Would that be twins or something? Well,
We've had it both
I mean,
ways,
just-
and we've had some that like to be together, and we have some that like to be apart. I think that one would be one I would consult with the family on, because I think that's some they want separate and some they want one set of homework, and I get both ways of that. So that is one I would probably be asking on.
I've got 2 brothers I'd love to put on separate buses.
I guess you can bring it to us whenever you.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to me.
That makes sense.
We've done it very similar in the past, probably more in the spring, but we get the second grader teachers give us the kids that they have the current year of how they need to be, because they've had them for a year, and so they do a separation, and that came into the administration. Then we would go to the special teachers, the special ed teachers title and all that. And we work with them to get it down. The whole time, you can't have any of those people see any of the documents because you're taking requests. So they would know if they're in one room or another and if they were chosen to a different teacher. So it is more closed that way. It'd be more open.
Because you didn't want teacher to see that no one requested them and 10 people requested the other teacher.
I'm all for it, but I can see a lot more of this.
I don't disagree that it will be a change and
Yeah.
not one that everyone is happy with.
Well, now they can go to, they don't like the right teacher, they can go to a different school.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
I get to go to a private school.
You know, when I was doing it, you call and talk to parents and give them rationale. They're like, okay, I get it. You know, I very seldom did I have, no, I'm standing ground here. They're gonna be in Mr. I mean, if you have that personal call to the parent, they're like, oh, yeah, you guys got it covered. Makes sense to me. Your reason rationale, as long as you have that, parents know you have their kid's best interest in mind, and they're gonna go, okay, they got it covered.
And the roughest will be the first year. After that, it'll start leveling off.
I think, like with siblings, you know, if you have one child that have this
Yeah.
teacher.
And I think that would be taken into consideration,
Right.
also because those relationships have been formed between families and teachers. And I think that's where, as they get older, including some of the younger grades in that conversation that they have, to know that, like, yes, we had a great working relationship, that type of thing. And it's not always, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's, we
Right.
need a break from each other, you know, that.
One of the hard things when I talked to other elementary principals about that was a different way of doing it. And so many other schools just don't do it. It was hard to find someone that had a different model because most districts our size don't have it. Districts that are bigger, you know, have 6 sections of 6th grade, and they're more common to have it. So yeah, maybe we can find someone else that has a good model that we could look at to give to you to compare.
Or you with Jill, if you got people you trust, and let it go and let them take care of it.
And I 100% do. We have a wonderful staff.
Can't beat that, man.
So when you have a difficult child like Elliot was when he was younger.
Yeah.
You guys like rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, that's the tough one, yeah.
Well, I'm worried about poor little Judy getting left behind. I don't think I want him.
We want them all.
All right. Good.
Thank you.
All right,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed.
Parent-teacher conferences in the spring, we've been talking about it. Teachers have been doing, basically every student they have, they've been filling out a doc, making comments, and then, so if those parents don't come in, they make phone calls the second night. A lot of good contact is made, but it's hours of back-end work on the teacher. So we're gonna try a couple of different things. Spring, we'll have conferences both nights, where parents come in, but one night we'll do freshman orientation. And then the next night, we're gonna do a junior night. Just because the game is changing and a lot of parents still believe we gotta do this, that, and the other thing for our kid to be a senior. If they wanna go to a community college or a tech school, they're sending them to take the ACT, and that's not necessary. So try to get some of those misconceptions dealt with before that senior year, and give parents that knowledge going forward, you know, what to expect for their student coming in as a senior. PD, still doing the book study. It's going really well. We have our teacher leaders doing it. They've done an outstanding job. Last week they did charades and linked it all, and it was great to see. Heather's doing a really good job with our new teachers and the mentoring. We started working on the 23-24 registration. So that'll all be rolling out this, in the next week. Getting the course descriptions and things all laid out. And so students can start registering for classes. Seems early, but the earlier we get it, the better it is for us. With at-risk in 23-24, COVID definitely changed some of our students' work ethic and things like that. You know, we, in the past, have always purchased the spots at WIT for the students that tend to get behind academically. But within the at-risk in Mr. Butter's room, we're gonna have to also embed basically a school within a school credit recovery. Some kids are, mental health and such components are not allowing them to get the credits they need at a pace we need them to get them at. So we're going to start doing some more alternative means to get students graduating on time. And I think we'll have 3 dropouts this year, and that's just crazy for me. And not all just seniors, but past graduating students and students that never registered for school this year are just walking the streets. And when you're only graduating 45 or 50 kids, that's a big hit to have 3 dropouts. So we'll start that program to, still send the kids to WIT that need that style, but have our own program here to meet those students' needs. We got Mrs. Kunkel got us a bunch of new science curriculum to start looking at. So kind of been holding back on showing that to the teachers, but I think it's time, knowing who will be here going forward, and to have something new when we do have that staff rollover. We need resources for those people to walk in and to be able to take off and run with our science. We've done reading, English reading, we've done math, and I think science is needed now. So we're working on that, and that's about it right now.
So have you talked to any other principals that drop out, kind of?
A lot of schools, have a trailer house out back, literally, where they send those kids.
Yep.
And they do that. I mean, our neighbors to the south do that. And we always, when I first started, we sent students to Sergeant Bluff. And Sergeant Bluff kind of dealt that academy to the up to WIT. It's the education, it's not the cookie cut model that we all went through anymore. Kids have a lot of different things that they bring in, a lot of different responsibilities than any of us ever had. And, working 2 jobs and raising siblings and things like that. And when they come here, they want to be a kid. So we got to find out a way to let them have that, but yet also get them an education so they get that piece of paper to make their life not as big a struggle for them. So a lot of schools are doing it. It's pretty common, and we haven't had the big need until it's coming, and it's a need for us. And we've had, a few kids do 1 or 2 classes, and they would have never graduated if we wouldn't have done it. So I just know we're gonna have kids that may be doing it all day, and that's how they're gonna be able to get through.
So that class is taught here then, or is it?
Yeah, it's taught here, and it's usually through a provided program that the state approves. And then we have teachers here are our managers of it. So like if you take an English class, the English teacher here is the manager of that class. So they're getting mirror image content, but it's delivered in a different platform, and it might be versus, the 43 minutes, they can get through it in 23. That's for some kids, that's how their brain works.
So that teacher will have to have a different class, just these?
No, we'll run it with Mr. Butters in his at-risk room down there, and then, so he's in there managing them, but they're overseeing, and then they do the grading and things like that for those classes.
It would effectively be like a one room
Yeah,
schools
yeah.
within the
School
school.
within a school, yeah.
Right, that they
Yep.
stay in one room with
Yep,
one teacher all
yep.
day.
And you know, and you can do some things like, they gotta be here at least 4 periods a day to be counted a student. Hey, you can get 7 periods worth of stuff done in 5 periods, 4 periods. Yeah, you can go work your 2 jobs. You can get, you know, you can do flexible things for them that make school appealing to them. So it's,
A GED track, basically.
yeah, you know, but, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get away from, because kids think, I'll just get my GED, and then they go and they're like, holy cow, I wish I just got my diploma. That game has changed too. You know, it's a bigger feat than it ever was, so.
Yeah.
We all knew everything when we were 15 or 16, so trying to figure out how to work with those ones that are all smarter than us.
That's all right.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Mr. Luck.
We're looking for volunteers for the Monona and Woodbury County Conference Board. Just notify them who's gonna be on it.
He's on it now.
And you're on, I think. You're the only one that's property.
I think I'm one.
Andy, right? What there?
But I'd be more than happy to give it up there.
Do you receive an email or letter from them?
I get budget every year. There's one meeting a year. Go up to the county.
Yeah.
Do you go?
One first year, I've gone, last 2.
No, I don't. I'll be alone. I don't. I wasn't signed up for that a long time ago.
I remember the discussions we were talking about. Usually the only one that had property.
The mayors from the towns and then members from the school board. Most of the mayors show up, maybe 2 or 3 people from the school board show up. That's about it. But basically, they're just approving the county assessor's budget. Like 6 lines. It's pretty. And the county supervisors are there too, so.
I just pick whoever has the most land in each county and have them submit on it.
Sounds like a reasonable show.
Pretty much leaves you out, huh?
On that.
You don't have to.
I don't know what it all entails, but I can do whatever I need to do
All
there.
right. We'll put your names in.
I'll speak from experience there, it ain't hard.
If you don't go, it ain't.
I like the sound of that.
All right, I'm hoping Andy can help us out a little bit with the urban renewal in the Salix area.
Yeah, what they say going on there.
They're doing a TIF for some development.
What's the location? Because all we get are the.
By the water tower.
The where?
Water tower.
What do they want to do there?
Basically putting in a development, but the TIF's just gonna allow them to use the tax dollars that come in to pay off any loans, because they're gonna have to put in water and sewer.
So the development is for housing or industrial or business housing?
Yeah, we only get the legal description of where it is, and it's like. Okay, that makes sense.
More houses?
More houses.
Right? It's going to be 8, I think.
What happened to the, over on that north, or be the southwest corner over there? I thought that was gonna be houses.
They got that back and they're
Did they?
looking to develop it, yep.
Really?
So that's good. TIF naturally makes us nervous when it's someone outside of our group towns that put the TIF into our district. So that sounds great. I don't think we even needed to attend that meeting either.
Nobody showed up, but she had to legally hold it.
Yeah.
Does the city own that?
No, but the city's gonna have to invest for sewer.
Who owns that? That's there, right there.
I think Mr. Stanoff bought it.
Oh, is that right?
All right, winter weather dismissals, hopefully we won't have any next week either.
I see there's a chance for snow, are we gonna call it?
Possibility. How much are we talking? Yeah, we talked about it at the last board meeting, actually, before all that, and kind of the process. And tried to update those who were in that last meeting. Want any more discussion on it? Or? Okay.
I'm sorry, I was zoned out there. Could you repeat that? Okay. Are you talking about school security or?
That was the winter whip.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good with that.
Kind of going over that. Page is kind of jumpy. Okay. School security got a lot of different things. I got a link in there for weapons at school. Did a lot of research through Cherokee and Storm Lake, or not Storm Lake, Spirit Lake, that are trying to do this, and actually have gone pretty far into the process. When I made that talk with them, learned where they were. At the same time, I contacted Jake down at Goodman Insurance to see if he heard anything from our insurance provider about coverage of that. Because that was the last time I had talked, it was uncertain of what they were going to do. EMC did call him back right away. He said, like, in 5 minutes, the quickest phone call he ever had, responded. And in the last few days before that call, they had put in policy, or however they do things at the insurance company, stating that any school that has volunteers carrying would be, they would cancel their insurance immediately and at the end of the current year for those that are implementing it. So that's kind of a really big deal because there's only one other insurance company in Iowa that will cover schools. It's a self-funded small group program. At one time, they were up to 12 schools. I think they're down to 8. And I don't even know if they consider it being an option because part of their problem is they had issues with losses. So right now, that's kind of where we sit on that. I'm kind of watching to see what happens with them and what happens with EMC on it.
What if they're not a volunteer?
The only way that they would do it is if they were a licensed SRO through law agency. They have some language.
SRO.
That's
School resource officer.
Yeah. So I know Chad Sheehan working on a plan to try to do all this. It's not easy. They can't, they have a hard time getting officers as is, and then how to make this work. One of the things that the state did a year or two ago to make it easier for schools is that you can share an SRO with another school, and then you get to share your funding, which is good if you still get more sharing funding. So that's a possibility, and we're going to be seeing Mr. Sheehan here pretty soon at the PD day, as well as I think he is bringing down, or he's going to have his minions come down and bring down the panels. I put the 3 bullets down there. That's what they're bringing down for the school. So still working on that. I had a call from a parent, a great call from a parent on, a lot of things happening in the media lately, and then the shooting in Des Moines, and talked with them and explained, where the county is on it right now, and totally understand. They think we're doing a great job for it.
I'd like to just make this visit in there, be just super proactive, on the whole, keep them out of here. I mean, to make sure we're watching our kids and keeping their doors locked and like we're doing. I think by the time it gets to that point, talking in this point, we're already past in the danger zone. So the concentration would be to be proactive. I mean, to prevent it out here. Spend the money having other guys walking the balls, just watch the kids, you see possibilities. Anyway.
We're definitely looking into that. That leads me into the next item, the vulnerability assessment they did. We're still waiting for that. Had a Zoom call today, and with all the schools in Iowa, we're on it, learning. It was kind of touted as state funds that are coming in, $50,000 to use for this. What they didn't really tell us at that time was it's federal dollars coming through the state, and now the red tape is really begun. And so it's not going to be easy, but we should be able to get it, and we will not be able to use it on anything this year. Because now, although we've applied previously, now we have to do the formal application. And so next year we'll be able to have that. So working on that, all those items, anything like that in school security. I'll move on to technology. Probably one of the biggest things that has been coming through is cybersecurity with schools, and it's been hitting hard. Michael and I are going to some cyber training on February 1st, and we will probably be signing up with a company that helps us arm ourselves against the security issues there. I think I may have talked about some of this in the past. Over Christmas break, actually did get some, I don't know what you call them, but attempts of companies trying to steal our employees' funds.
So they sent an email saying, I can't remember what staff member, this is for Sierra Lumber or just whatever. I'd like to change my routing information to this. And so instead of having them come in and sign a form, they're emailing it to you, this random account. And there's been schools that they've actually done it, but we were aware because we had talked, at our meetings that this was coming. And it was in it was actually in my spam box. I went in there to look for something else and I was like, what is this? And I went and looked and it was a request to change your direct deposit.
So as you remember when Jake was here in the summer and said we'd have to do 2 forms of logging in, we completed all that, and then we turned up our passwords for employees to have on their devices to help offset a lot of this. And then we'll be working with probably the company through the ADA has hired for working all this. It's just a lot. At my last meeting, I was sitting by the superintendent, and he said they like to test their employees. So this company will send something, and it's not harmful, but they're tracking to see if Chase Collins clicks on it and invites a virus in or whatever. And he said, you wouldn't believe how many we have that do it. So it's a lot of training of your staff. Don't click on this, don't accept this.
One thing to know, you shouldn't do that, but if it's so infrequent that when it does come up, you're just like, oh, yeah, it's too late at that point. So, yeah, spending some money around cybersecurity is a good idea. If it's just a training aspect, that's fantastic. Anything you do.
Yeah, so we're gonna learn more about that next week. Social media, Jill took cover over. We're gonna bring you some of our policies and maybe rewriting, depending on what all that looks like. Teammates, we had a meeting, we have more teammate mentors, signed up, and we will be getting them some new mentees here in the near future, so teammates is really kind of ramping that up after the COVID. They're a little late on that aspect, but we'll be doing that. Something we're going to continue to talk to you, Mr. Dries and I, are about the esports. This is getting to be bigger and bigger and more schools going to it. I think Matt has told you before that you get full ride college scholarships for this. There's a girl I watched on the news a couple weeks ago, a girl that was going to community college in, I think, Dubuque, and she stopped in and played Mario Kart with the team, and she was so good, they put her on the team. She was the only girl. She won the national championship of Mario Kart, and now has a full ride to go to a 4-year school. So, crazy, as we talked earlier, all this technology. So anyhow, I was setting this up and I haven't got back to it, kind of what we're looking at, and I'm gonna get some prices on equipment and such, but I'm gonna leave this in here and we're gonna start working on putting in a year one of what it would look like for esports at Westwood, and then maybe year two, what that looks like. And
Anybody in school, what they're doing, is anybody in school?
in our conferences, there's
Nothing in this school right here.
Not yet.
no.
We need to get the equipment to do it.
Yeah.
We have,
Anybody show interest, our students?
oh, yeah,
It'll be the biggest sport we get.
exactly,
We're sitting in a chair. I would imagine.
exactly.
I think it's Ridgeview, they have 30 kids in it, and 28 of them are in no other activities. That's the only thing they're involved in. So they're not seeing it take from the sports programs or any other programs. It's just building another lifeline to the school, kind of like archery has done.
Yeah.
So.
You want the kids engaged, and
Getting
The
them
reason to
engaged.
come.
if there's kids that aren't typically engaged, getting engaged, then that's a win, right?
So we're working on that. Next, Western Valley Conference superintendents are asking individual boards to consider a fixed dollar entry per ticket for high school conference events, just similar to what we're doing, just adding $1 onto it. There's discussion about adding $3 for junior high events in the future, or maybe just track and wrestling or something like that. We're kind of, let's make it a little easier on us and just do $6 for the varsity. I think coming up to this conference where they had just varsity was a really neat thing. You don't have to pay to get into junior high events. You have more kids in junior high events. You have families that have kids trying out a sport. They've got 5 kids. They're not going to get a babysitter to come to an afternoon game. They don't have to pay. So that was kind of the thought process of what we had for it. We're not voting. It's just I'm supposed to take back, would our board support $6 instead of $5 to help out? Referees are going up. Our account for all that is good. We're steady. It's not a huge concern, but not all the schools in the conference have activity funding like we do.
Also mitigates the risk of having one more opportunity for cash to change hands, right? You don't have to deal with getting the cash box out, balancing it, and all that kind of crap. So if you had to do that for the junior high stuff,
Right, and then you pay
It-
somebody
yeah.
to work it.
it'd be a lot more work and a lot more risk. Just adding a dollar to it doesn't change anything from that aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
Not gonna keep anybody from coming to it.
I think the biggest thing would be you're gonna have about $400 and $1 bills for change, but other than that,
Yeah, it was funny, when we had Westwood the other night, I was the ticket taker, and every Westwood person had $6 or $12, because their conference is already there. I don't think any of them, well, maybe a few brought 20, but most of them had it ready to go. So they must have trained them well. That's good, sounds good to everybody? All right, track bids, trying to get that done for next month. Using 3 local companies. The hard part, the 2 companies have been really good to work with. The 3rd company out of Boone, bid on our project before. They didn't win it because they were higher price because they do their tracks different. And I tried twice now to get, this is our scope, this is what we want. And they sent back long explanations of why they do, and basically what we need to do is go back and go down to dirt and go again. And
What is it that, within 10 words or less, what do they do different that can't meet our requirements?
The basic is redoing the foundation all the way down to the bottom of the track. And then they extend the track on the inside and outside. So the track is wider. And part of that, I remember in an email, because mowers and weed eaters don't hit the side of the track. And I guess.
Do we have stacks going up for these?
It's a procedure chart, not specs, because one of the companies, they all use 1.5 inch. Their mat is 1.5 inch, like that too. So 2 I have just specific, and the 3rd one wants to go a whole different way. And I'm trying to investigate it a little more and see, does the board want me to look at going to a whole different way of putting it on the track?
Just good for apples to apples, either way.
Okay. All right. Okay. Moving on, trying to be somewhat quick here. The early retirement letters, getting that ready for next month. That's the whole process. As we sat in the meeting tonight, I did receive a new one. And so I do have more documentation there. We do have 3 in the cloud, or certified, and 1 in the classified. And I had put out a reminder earlier this week that that time period is coming up in case that they want to take a look at it. So that process is going, and we'll have that finalized by February 10th. February 15th is our board meeting. We'll vote on it and it goes through there.
So the 2 pools are separate, classified?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna, with 3, and we wouldn't really reduce the benefit amount, right? Is that?
Right. It will go down unless one of them decides to drop out in that period of time that they have available for that. So, yep, just like last year. The physical plant project, I'm gonna go down to C. We've had CMBA architects in. I made a phone call with FEH. He was going on vacation / work. She was gonna have someone come down here. I haven't heard from them since. But they are interested in it. And I'm trying to get numbers from them as well. So we have something to maybe look at the next board meeting. How many firms would the board like to look at? These are two really good local ones.
Which
Want
ones?
to try to find a third one?
You know, who CBM, CMBA,
Who are they?
that's the contractor you're gonna.
That's an architect firm that we had in just to talk with.
And that's a local one?
Yes, they're Sioux City.
Haven't heard of them. Who's the other one then?
FEH is Sioux City too.
Haven't heard that one either.
They're both local. Ken and Mossberger, and I don't know what FEH is, but they're both local.
What about H&R or H&R?
That was, that's, as far as Klinger.
No, that H&R is,
Yeah, I know who it is, but
okay.
He'll use one of these two firms most likely. I think H&R uses Ken and Moss for their architect.
So we start with the architect.
Okay,
Is what's happening.
okay.
And H&R is what? Are they mechanical or
No, they're both.
construction management? Okay, so
Default to Justin's.
they do like,
Say that again?
That's a default to you, what do you think? We need another one or two good enough?
There's one other one I would throw in there that's, the ones that did the original building. They still have all the prints and.
Is that DGR?
DGR, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
And fellas that put it together for us to start with, they're not, not interested in them. The ones that put that pamphlets together for us.
they are interested.
We're gonna give them a buzz.
We can.
Well,
We pay the money, correct? Right. For the
a lot of
original.
work for us.
Okay.
I wouldn't just drop the ball on them.
Okay.
Worked for it before, kind of.
I misunderstood from earlier.
I don't know, maybe not, I don't know.
Keeping it a little.
Well, we do, I guess,
Yeah.
but I don't know, they did good work for us. I don't.
Yep, we'll get them
I wouldn't
and.
not- At least give them a call, an opportunity.
23,000 reasons to throw DGR in the mix, but that's entirely up to you.
It doesn't matter to me. It's.
But DGR, they're.
Well, yeah, one of their head engineers lives on Elm Street.
Who's that, Brian? What?
Tom Lowe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Where is it?
Tom Lowe.
Oh, yeah, he works for DGR. That's right.
All right, I will
Whatever.
add them to the list. And, okay, so I had the sample survey there, and we looked at it, I added those items, and then, when we talked with, CMBA, that was part of one of the things that they would do. And so I thought, should we just hold off on it until we see the company? Okay.
Well, whatever you think, yeah, keep it simple, I guess.
All right. If you are ready, I'm ready to go to some action items.
One thing I brought up with you, I haven't brought it up with anybody else, about the local department. From my understanding, local and band each have like a stipend, kind of like a coaching deal, and that's for their concerts, for their whatever, solo contest. I'd like to put in a separate stipend for Revelators.
Yeah.
Show choir.
Show choir.
So it'd be like a second, one, if Tom does leave, it entices the next person. But not only that, it kind of opens it up if the new director doesn't want show choir, but there's somebody from the outside that does. Excuse me, it opens that up, like a head coaching spot for somebody else to come in and take it over, because obviously that's not something we want to dissolve and go away.
Did I send something out to everybody about that?
And you did,
I did, in that I did pull the superintendents in our AEA that have show choirs to see if they do have a different stipend. And no other district does. One district does have it, it's a bigger district, but it's same amount of money. It's just, it's one part split into show choir, one part split into vocal. So,
So then if that was the case, for the band director, we'd have to take half of theirs away because they don't.
Because it's shared.
that's, yeah.
Right, so.
No.
So,
I guess my thought on this is, we know we're gonna have difficulty posting jobs. There's gonna be, candidate pool issues. If we take the same approach that we've been taking for the last year in that we post it and see what kind of activity we get. We don't get any, then we add the stipend and then we repost it internally and externally and see what happens. And then if that doesn't work, then we've got a process in place to help us fill that role, and it may require a stipend, it may not, right? Just because we're doing it today doesn't mean we have to do it in the future.
The way I'm looking at it is, you've got junior high basketball, you've got freshman basketball some years, JV basketball, varsity basketball. That's 4 different coaches, 3 different coaches.
Well,
2 different.
For your junior high, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
2, and high school, yeah, 2.
So he's got 3 different show choirs going, right? 6 dimension, junior high, and high school. It's just a lot of added work.
Right, and the next director may want to do it differently. I mean, that's been Tom's choice all along. That's not gonna be his job a year from now, so it's gonna be their decision on how they run those programs, so it's, we're not, I guess,
I think
we don't know, we might get somebody that's gung ho and is, I mean, Tom do a very good job of handpicking somebody to come in, I don't know what I would say, but we've got a hiring process in place, let's just follow it, right? We don't need to change that just because we've got a stipend today, let's just see where we end up, and we'll probably end up with a stipend again, but, you know, that's, the process is to start without it and then move on. It does take a day because it's having to repost all the time, but
Are you thinking, you know, that putting that stipend in there that you possibly stay?
There's always that possibility.
But I mean, is that what's in, is that what's?
That's part of it, but also, you know, if we put it out there and we give somebody hired, well, they take the job and they're like, crap, this guy did a lot. I don't want to do show choir.
I got it.
So now we don't have show choir anymore because it's not in their contract that they have to do show choir, correct? They're just music.
It would be our expectation, but.
well,
something with that.
let's be realistic.
It's almost like,
Let's be realistic. Jazz band was huge at this school. We were state champions 8 out of 10 years. The director left. We barely had a band program a decade later. I mean, Quiz Bowl, we had a really strong program. You know, you had like 4 kids out 5 years ago. Things are gonna ebb and flow. I mean, we're not always going to be what we are today. And it's suggesting let's not throw money at it and hope for the best. Let's just hire under our normal hiring practices and then see where we land, right? You know, and if we end up having to pay for a really good candidate that's gonna do a fantastic job for us, then we've got it built in, right? But we need to post it first, make sure that there isn't somebody that's willing to take less.
Well, we gotta pay, he has to retire first.
Right, but I mean, that's the reason why we're having this conversation, right? Yeah, I'm not suggesting that it's not warranted, I'm just suggesting that we've already got a process for this, let's just follow it.
and I get it, it is a lot of extra work, but if you kind of take a look at the coaches that we have, not a lot of them are retiring off $2,000 a year. I mean, because if you're coaching for the money, you might as well quit. Because you're not making anything off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put in all the hours that the basketball coaches or cast between football or softball or baseball or whatever, that $2,000 is not even till your car will tank full of gas after you put in all your time, and time's worth everything, but
But this is really good dialogue, because we may have this really
Yes.
soon in the future, or it could be a little ways off.
Iron
Good
is
to
challenge, that's for sure. Good? Good. Okay, action items.
First reading of the 100 series. This is, again, just doing a review of them as required. Some of these have been changed due to state law, and others have not. But getting us in that 5-year mark to have them updated.
Questions on it? For motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of the 100 series of policy.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Resignations,
We have none.
hires,
First one is for Mary Lynn Nelson, yes, part-time cook. She's coming in to watch the salad bar.
she better.
for the most part.
You want to do these individually, or can we do them together, or?
You probably do the first two together and the second two. Grace Wheeler is a recent graduate for us and is helping us in the preschool, elementary.
Make a motion, hire Mary Lynn Nelson, part-time cook, and Grace Wheeler as paraeducator.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Fundraisers.
Oh, we need to do the other two.
Oh, sorry.
Not a problem. Carly and Carissa are available to do it again. Cass asked me if I could put it on now so we could get this wrapped up.
Is that Carly, she's the same head coach for softball last year?
Yeah.
And who's her helper? Who's the other, who's the counselor assistant?
Chris, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Both former students and players.
I'll make a motion to approve contracts for Curly Stanoff, head softball coach, and Mr. Reynolds, assistant softball coach.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Now fundraisers.
Wrestling cheerleaders.
I don't even remember.
I'll make a motion to approve the fundraiser for the wrestling cheerleaders.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Outside doors.
We talked about this at the last board meeting and some of the problems with the bidding process, and anybody else was going to use the same company and up the prices. So this is our formal approval for those bids to get those doors that are in dire need of help. Did they have any update on?
Into May.
So if we can get them done this summer.
That's the whole jam and everything?
That's everything. Yes. And then the one, then the multi-purpose.
Fine,
Do we need to pick between one here, or is it all?
I would recommend the first option on both of them, total replacements.
Make a motion to approve first option, bids at the outside doors as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Auditorium seating.
Okay, went through this with Mr. Gurking, so he knew where we were and what we were looking at and such. H2I is the new name of the old company that did the original seats that we do have. So I've been working with them quite a bit because they had schematics and stuff from previous and help you get the apples to apple bids from the other companies. We also liked their seats better than the other two companies, and they had the lowest amount, and they're willing to work with us on time frame and getting some other things done in the auditorium. From the initial tear out, fixing the floor, to putting in. They're also the only one, I think, from my memory, that uses an American company manufacturer. So we don't have to wait for them on barges from China. They are built in, I think, Illinois. And they'll get them done and have them ready to go, so.
Is there, probably on here, I haven't seen it, but they're not gonna change the spacing between the seats, are they? I mean, they're gonna keep everything the same,
Yes, relatively,
or make the seats any smaller?
they're all the standard size seats. Some seats are smaller, some seats are already smaller, because that's how they do the curve.
Okay.
And, so I can't guarantee every seat will be the exact same size.
Aren't they putting in, want to put more seats in?
We're not losing seats.
We're getting more seat.
But they were putting seats in, so they gotta make something smaller if they're doing that.
There are most of the seats, I think it's on.
Like that back row doesn't go all the way across, so you could probably get seats in there too. Things like that.
That's what they're hoping, yeah.
Is there a center aisle? Did you look around? Not
No.
required?
All the companies, we went without the center aisle to keep as many seats as possible. And I believe they are, most of them, without the curved part, are the 22-inch wide seat. And I went in and measured seats, and that seemed to be.
Okay, I just don't want, I think they're great seats, they're comfortable. I mean, the width is pretty good compared to some of them.
Yeah.
And for people walking by, don't want to sacrifice that for a few seats. I mean, that's my thoughts, I guess. And I haven't looked at any drawings or blueprints or what they're doing, so just bring it up. Change.
And how all the companies do it is once we select a company, then they come in and they do a walkthrough and we look at fabric and colors and talk about those concerns about seating and the back wall, all that kind of stuff. So.
When you say select.
Well, after the board approves this bid, then they'll come in and do it.
So that's the one you recommend?
Yeah, yeah. And Tom does too. They just better seats, they look like.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
To approve the bid for the seating.
From H2I.
Yep, H2I.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes.